Hey everybody, it is TJ and it is 7 o'clock, which means that we're gonna talk to Michele Kishita in just a minute. And she's here, she's waiting to be let in, but I'm just gonna talk for just a few minutes until some people start showing up and watching. Before we do get started, I can see comments coming in during the conversation, but unless you guys go to streamyard.com, whatever /Facebook, and give Facebook permission, or StreamYard permission to access your Facebook, I'm not going to be able to see your name on your comment. So I'll see your comment, but I won't be able to see your name. But if you do that, then I'll be able to see your name, and it won't be just like an anonymous comment. I will be able to address it as pertinent and particular to you. So if you don't want to do that, I'll still see your comment. I just won't know who it is who's tapping away at their keyboard. All right. So again, welcome. This is the Bold Creatives Collective. I'm TJ. I started this thing. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I started it. And I started this conversation series. Last week was the first one with Tim McFarlane. It was awesome. At least I thought it was pretty awesome. And tonight we're going to have Michele Kishita, and she is one of my friends. We met, I don't know, probably a decade ago or so, at the University of the Arts, where we both seem to hang around. She's still there, advising students, teaching students, and really being a mentor for a lot of students there. I did my undergrad at UArts and did a stint doing various things there before I opened my private practice here in the city. So that's where Michele and I know one another. I started Bold Creatives because I want to help creative people get over their shit so that they can enjoy creating and make better stuff. And that's what these conversations are supposed to help inspire you to do, and also the group as well. And so that's really what it's about, guys. All right. Pretty simple. All right. So I'm going to bring Michele in. Hopefully the technology works. It seems to be working a little bit better than it worked last week. And so here we go. She's going to show up on the screen and hopefully we'll hear her. All right. Michele, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you can hear me, it seems.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So Michele, thanks so much for hanging out tonight. So good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks. So we have a few people starting to watch. Hopefully more people will trickle in. And then over the course of the week, of course, they'll be able to catch the thing if they click play and choose to watch it on their own time.
Great.
But yeah, so as we get going, I know all about you, or at least I think I know a lot about you. The stuff that you've given me permission to know.
Well, and probably things I haven't given you permission to know
Probably.
in another way. It's all right.
So why don't you, for the benefit of the folks listening and watching, I know some of them were coming and they know you, but for those who don't know you, can you give us a little bit of a glimpse as to who you are in a nutshell and what you're about?
Yeah, so I'm a painter, and I mean, gosh, what should I say about myself? I'm a painter, and I have a very active studio practice, but I also have a full-time job at the University of the Arts, and I have a part-time job at the University of the Arts. And so having all those things happening at the same time it's a lot.
It's a lot to juggle, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot.
You feel like you're running around with your head cut off half the time, I imagine.
Yeah, well, it's really funny because I find that the busier that I am, the easier it is. Does that make any sense? It's almost like you're forced to really do some good time management when everything's happening at the same time. So I find that I can manage it a little bit better. I don't know. It's very weird. I guess that's sort of, maybe in a nutshell, that's who I am. The person who does the best under pressure. And
yeah, I can relate to that a little bit. I think when I stop and I'm not doing something, when I'm not thinking, even just thinking about an idea or thinking about doing something, I have difficulty, right? I feel like I'm just stagnating. But when I feel like I'm running from one thing to another, um, I feel invigorated, I feel alive. And it sounds like that's a little bit of what you're talking about for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it can be exhausting too, but I don't know. Maybe I just wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've been keeping this pace up for a long time,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. I mean, I graduated with my master's degree in 2010, and I just hit the ground running. And I've been sort of nonstop on my practice since then. You know.
Since then, yeah. Yeah. And for you, so you went to UArts for both your bachelor's of fine arts degree and your MFA, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. And then from and there was a gap of time, right, between your undergraduate degree and your master's degree,
Yeah,
right?
like a huge gap. Like 13 years,
13
maybe.
years. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe
And
13 years.
and was it during that time that you lived overseas? Is that when you were, because you did some art?
I did a lot of things actually. I graduated from the University of the Arts, and then I became a professional. At that time it was called professional tutor, and I worked full time at the university. And then I opened a shop in Paoli with my best friend Joan.
Oh
And
wow. Why did I not know that? I didn't know that about you.
oh, I'm like an onion, TJ, like an onion.
Well, we're
Um,
gonna peel back some layers tonight, then, I guess.
but yep, I had a store in Paoli, and I did that for 2 or 3 years, and I loved it. It was great, but it just, it wasn't my path. My path was to leave the country, to just pack
Yeah.
up and leave, and
Mhm.
that's what I did. And it seems like I'm, not really happy unless I'm complicating my life. So, I
Right.
ended up complicating my life by going abroad. And it was funny because I talked about it in my class today, because we were talking about culture shock and
Right.
that, and, that was a super reality. It's like, I want soy sauce. And then you go to the grocery store and there's like an entire aisle of brown liquid. And you're just like, oh my
Mind
God, which of
mind
these
is
brown
blown.
liquids do I need? And why does anybody need this many brown liquids? I don't know.
I don't know, but they're there if you want them. So how long were you overseas? Were you out of the country then?
I only lived in Japan for 2 years, but it was a really, like, I don't know what to say. It had such a deep impression on me,
Right.
and it's really carried over into my entire life. And after I came back, I was going back to Japan almost every year, and then that sort of stopped happening because life was happening. And then I think the last time I've been to Japan was 2016, but I'm supposed to be
Okay.
going again in January, taking a group of
Oh
students
wow, it's gonna
from the
be
university. Yeah,
that's awesome. That'll be a really great trip, and it's
yeah.
like an exposure trip for them to take in some of the history and the culture of Japan, art, and all of that, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I mean, I took a group in 2016, and we're like a family. I still stay in touch with them. They've all graduated,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's fun.
So there was that gap of time, you did a bunch of things, and then you eventually decided, probably, I guess, around 2007 or so, to go back,
Hmm.
begin your MFA, back at UArts again. And I guess you were working at UArts at the same time, so that made some sense for you to do that program.
No,
Or no, am I?
the MFA came first, and then I got into the MFA program, and then there was an opening. I don't know. It was some. I don't remember exactly. I think there was an opening or something, and I was like, I want to teach at university level, and I reached out to some people, and then they hired me while I was there. So that happened first. So
That
yeah,
happened first. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so there's these I know, like, it's you're one person, but I know like two two versions of you, right? And they're not all together that different, but there's this version of you who is the painter, who is like this business person who really wants to get her shit out into the world, and
Yeah.
to show up and to like
Yep.
have things out there and really support your lifestyle from making art. That's like your
Yes.
calling. That's your purpose, is to be a maker. And then
Yes.
there's this other part of you that is this like I see it as a pretty like extreme advocate for students, and for
Mhm.
students of the arts in particular. And like so much so, and I mean I don't know, I don't want to like embarrass you or anything
It's
like
okay.
that, but just
I
like
don't think it's possible.
okay. But so much so that, like, a bunch of years ago, you started a fund, right, at UArts,
Well, yeah.
to support students who, like, legitimately can't, like, make ends meet, and
Mhm.
they're somehow still trying to show up to school and function as a student and be successful and move forward in their dreams. But they're, like, homeless. They're
But
not
homeless, or having to make the decision to buy paint or toe shoes instead of groceries. I
right,
mean, this is not where anybody should be. You can't get an education. First of all, you're paying this extraordinary amount of money to have an education, but you can't have an education if you have food insecurity or
right,
housing insecurity.
right.
Um, yeah, that fund was the start of other things. The university's taken over, and they've started a different kind of. It's not a fund as much as it is. It's called cares, and so students can, it's like a food pantry, and it's they've done some really great things. So that was a nice jumping off point, and then it's grown into this other
This
thing
other
that,
thing.
yeah, that I'm not really a part of anymore, but
Sure.
it was good to get the ball rolling.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it just shows how much you care about the student, and how much you care about their ability to, have as much of an even playing field as possible, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Right, and to be able to show up and, like, hopefully as much as possible only think about being a student and developing their voice, and being able to start making their voice heard. And like you
Yes.
said, if they're unable to like feed themselves afterwards, after studio class or whatever,
Yeah.
how are they going to show up
Yeah.
as a student, right? And you've done so many different things, um, for kids, for students, over the years. What is it like that gets like why do you care so much? I mean, why like
I wish somebody would tell me, because it would make my life a lot easier to not care, actually. You
yeah,
know what I
of
mean?
course it would, right? You
Yeah,
have great
I would, it would really be a heck of a lot easier. But I don't know what it is. I think I've just always kind of been that way.
mhm,
And I mean, students who work in my studio as interns or whatever end up being sort of lifelong, um, they end up being friends,
yeah,
like I have people, I mean, and some of these people, they knew me back when I was a yelling professor, and I'm not a yelling professor anymore. I yell on the inside and I scream
yes,
on the inside, but
yes,
back then all that just came out, and
yeah.
and
But no
they
longer does it explode in the classroom.
no, but actually, but those, and when I tell those students, like, I don't yell anymore, they're like, what? I don't believe it. And but they stuck around. So I mean, I guess it worked for them. And I guess
Yeah.
that's really funny, because when I was reading the thing for this talk, and it said stuff about tough love and all that, I'm like, what's TJ talking about? And I'm like, it's totally on brand.
I think the way you're packaging the tough love, and the way you're packaging, the way you interact with people and students is different now. It sounds
It
like.
is. It has to be. The students have changed. And so I have to change, I have to be able to serve them in the way that they need to be served.
Mhm.
But I don't know, there's just some things that that never change. And it's like, you know, you have to, this sounds terrible because there's a lot of, artists out there that are going to think that this sounds kind of cold or whatever, but you have to just get beyond whatever it is that's holding you back and do the thing. And it's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm having and I'm sorry, TJ, because you definitely, give therapy, you're a therapist and stuff, but like, for me, it's just like you have things going on and you're sad or whatever. It's, I'm having a bad health day. And it's like, I don't care. Bad health does not get me my money. And so I have to put that on the back
I
burner
see. Yeah.
and I have to do the thing. And then then later when I come home after I've done the thing, then I can cry my eyes out.
Right.
It's, and I think that I worked in a grocery store for a really long time to put myself through school. And when you're working with people, you can't show them, and even as a professor, I can't show people that I'm sad or that I'm having a bad day because I have to show up. I have to be there for them to do the thing. And it's not the customer's fault that I'm having
Mhm.
a bad day,
Right.
so I have to treat them the way that they need to be treated. And then later I can have my nervous breakdown, so I'm sort of well trained at this.
Right. Well, I don't hear you saying that your your bad day or the stuff that is really eating at you is unimportant or illegitimate, right? Like there's so many things that we're facing today
Yeah.
as people that make it really difficult to function and operate in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and there are people who want to help you through those things,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
therapists,
Yeah.
coaches, right? Other
Yeah.
types of people who can really help. But also at some point, I really do believe, like you, that the only way I don't know the correct statement, but I'm just gonna say the only way through is through, right? Like
Yeah.
the only like you have to really start to take steps, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you have a goal that you're trying to meet and something as difficult or as challenging,
Yeah.
right, as a professional studio practice.
Yeah, and like, and the news here, okay, is that you have to be incredibly comfortable with being incredibly uncomfortable. Like you can't, um showing up for yourself, like it's really easy to not show up for yourself because showing up for yourself means that you have to be uncomfortable a lot of the time,
Yeah.
right? And you have to put yourself in the same way that, like, well, I'm feeling sad today, it would be more comfortable for me to stay in bed or sit on the couch and watch episode after episode of something,
Right.
right? And that would be the comfortable thing to do. But you know life just keeps moving, right?
Mhm.
And you can stay still for only so long, and you have to, you know, what's more uncomfortable, being sad with money or being sad without money? And so, like, at the end of the day, you have to be like, I want to go out and get that money and I can be sad too, but now I
Yeah.
can be more comfortable being sad. I don't know, that sounds terrible too,
Right.
um
Right.
but at the same time, you have to find your priorities. And the other thing too is, to go out on a limb and talk about this,
Mhm.
I see a lot of artists who don't want to spend the money on things, right? And there's a lot of bad vibes around money.
Hmm.
And but if you're spending money on paints, right, and you're spending money on, and just to expand it, on marble, on toe shoes, and the train's going by now, so I'm sure you hear that. Um,
Okay.
anything that you need to invest in to be able to do your craft, okay? Um, is something that a lot of artists are willing to do because it's a part of the thing that they need to do to create.
Right.
Okay. But if you have no interest in selling your work or making money from your work or exhibiting your work or performing or doing anything like that, and it's just something you do at home, great. But if you do and you're serious, then you have to think about all of the other things that you need to spend money on in order to, or invest in, to be able to get to the end goal. And so, do you need a coach? Okay, coaches are expensive, but in the long run, you have somebody who's coaching you and then you make more money, right? And then that pays for itself. Or you need a PR person, PR people are expensive, but if they help you to get to that end goal, you do it. And as long as you're committed.
As long as you're committed. And I think, money in general is such a difficult topic for so many of us, right?
Yeah.
It's money is like a symbol, or it's a symbol for so many different things, right, in our life that like attach itself to that green piece of paper. And so when we start thinking about spending money or making money or saving money, or the money we have or the money we don't have, right, pretty soon we're not actually talking about the money anymore. We're talking about a bunch of different things, right, that we have to kind of like wade through and crawl through.
We're childhood and parents fighting over money, and then that trickling down to like money's bad, or there's a lot kind of tied into it.
There's a lot tied into it, right? And so at some point, I really hope, and I'm trying to do this work on myself, too, like as I have multiple businesses now, and I have a family, and I have, I like to spend money on artwork and stuff that's expensive and collection. So like, what does money mean to me? Do I really trust that if I put money out for education or put money into my business, is it going to come back to me? Right. And you're saying the same kinds of things about artists, right, and creators, right? Can you, I know that we don't make that much money right away, right?
It's hard to push
can you
through.
hold that with like a looser fist, right, and kind of say, okay, I'm going to invest this over here, and I'm going to trust that something will happen, and it will come back to me and multiply. Right. And it sounds like that has been happening for you.
Absolutely.
In some ways, recently, right? Like I know that a few years ago you started working with a coach yourself, and really was like, oh my God, like this is like a lot of money, right? But I'm going to like hold my breath, and I'm going to go in it, and I'm not going to shit around, and I'm not going to waste it.
I get up. TJ, I get up at 5 a.m. And
you're part of the 5 o'clock club. Isn't that a thing? There's like a thing.
I guess it is. I mean, I got to be real honest with you. Even if I didn't get up at 5 a.m., I would get up at 5 a.m. I'd get up at 5 a.m. I'm like sort of have an internal farmer clock or something. And my dad's like that too. But I get up at 5 a.m. I spend 2 to 3 hours on professional practices, whether that's emailing people or fixing my archive, or making a plan for the week, or something like that, and I commit to it. And are there days that I have a sunrise clock because I couldn't take the beeping and stuff anymore, and so the sunrise happens. I'm like, I don't want to get up, and or whatever. And then I'm like, get out. And then I just roll over and I do it. I don't want to do it every day, but I have to do it every day. I recently got a solo exhibition in Chelsea, which I'm really excited about. And
the photos look beautiful of the space and of the installation. It looked really great.
Thanks. I mean, it's like a blessing, and that's like the universe working its mysterious ways, and it happened within a 2-week time frame. And so I I couldn't do my professional practices because I had to go to the studio. I was in the studio for 10 days, 12 to 14 hours a day to make that show happen.
Wow.
And because I had older work, so the work spans from 2014 to now. I mean, a couple weeks ago, because I was working on it.
Right.
I wanted to make sure it was such a big opportunity and a really incredible chance for me to be able to do that. And I just put my entire focus on that. But what happened is that my sales took a giant hit, and I mean a giant hit. And so that told me in this, I'm not complaining, because the hit's fine, because theoretically the thing that I did will make up for that,
Back around, right?
But the thing that tells me is that everything that I'm doing every morning, getting up, showing up for myself, doing the work, it matters, because every month that the sales are happening, and then the 1 month where I was like doing this other thing, the sales
that it stopped, right?
It stopped. And already it's like I'm back on again. And so it's like, oh, look, I'm having sales again. So it tells me, it's just like, it's like proof positive that the things I'm doing work. And I can still be, I think the other thing too, there are a lot of people, hearing me talk a lot about money and art, that some people sell out and all this.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this came from, that my creative stuff isn't worthy of sales. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know where that comes from in people. It's like my creative health and well-being is worth the sales. I can do that. I can still be creative. I can still do all the things that I want to do. I can be risky. I can try something completely new. And I'm always reinventing my work. Always. And because for me, I get bored. Oh my God, I get so bored. And even though my work in different things, they look related, they're different in their own way. And and putting myself out there, like doing residencies, I always thought residencies were the dumbest thing. I'm like, why do I want to pack up my incredible studio where I'm comfortable, and see that word right there?
Comfortable, right? And haul all that ship to someplace else, like Russia.
Yeah, hi. And like, why do I want to do that? Like, why? This is the dumbest thing. I really did not want to do residencies. And I did 3 in 1 year, like within a year's time span. And but the thing I found was that, the first residency was I did printmaking, and the stuff that came out of that was like so unexpected and so exciting.
Was that the Iceland? That was the Iceland residency? Was that?
No, the New Mexico.
The New Mexico one, right? Okay.
Yeah, New Mexico, and then I went to Russia. And then that work was completely different. And I did all digital work for that show, and made video and worked together with Pasha.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. And then I went to Iceland, and I did like this other body of work.
Right.
So really getting out of your comfort zone. And I mean, going to different countries, that can be like super uncomfortable, especially if you don't speak the language. I don't speak Russian. And, and thank God for Pasha, because honestly, I just would have just been walking to go buy water, and then just going back into the space, and then just not going too far,
Right.
Probably because it was so overwhelming, and there's like no English at all.
Right.
At all.
It seems like if I can, like, I'm just hearing you talk about getting out of your comfort zone, how if you're like finding that you're saying, oh, I'm pretty comfortable, that's probably like a sign that, you should do something. Like it sounds like over the course of, you know, the past several years especially, but really your whole journey has been like throwing away stuff that, you know, people tell you that you should do because this is how it's always done, or
Yeah.
why would you go here and do this when you can do something just maybe as good here, and just saying like, no, like that's not what I want, that's not what's going to get me to where I want to be, and so
Yeah.
I really have to like totally take risks,
But you
like,
know, yeah. But you know, what's funny is because I didn't know that the residencies were going to have that big impact on me. And the only reason that I did them was because I wanted to get these other things, like these grant things.
the
And
grant, right,
right. And they're like, do you have residencies? Do you have this? And I'm like, no, I don't have any of that. And so like, then I was like, all right, shift gears. Let's get some residencies so that you can then go back and do this other
right,
thing to get grants. And then I didn't know how important the residencies were going to be. And I was looking at it like this, right? Where do I have friends? Okay, well, my best friend lives in New Mexico.
right,
Residency, New Mexico. Oh, I want to see Pasha. Let's go to Russia. You
right,
know, oh, Nikita, she lives in Iceland. Let's go to Iceland.
right.
And so I looked at it as a way to do like international friend travel, but then it was so much more than that. You
Yeah,
know, it
also
ended up,
pour into your practice and propel yourself
yeah,
forward and grow.
yeah, it was so much more. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we're talking right now on like a particular level. Like you're somebody who is like, you know, this is her livelihood. This is, you know, this is what she does as a career, right? And there's some people in the group that are totally like on that wavelength, right? And that's what they're doing, or that's where they want to be. But then there's other people who aren't necessarily like interested in that. Like that's not why they make, right? That's, you know, they're creative, they're an artist, or an artist of some form, right? For different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Can you boil down like a little bit to like, you know, the basic, like if um like I'm formulating this as I'm talking. So like there's some basic concepts I think that you're talking about, whether it's like whether it's the career artist or the just creative person who wants to just really be in practice for themselves, right?
Yeah.
What are the basic things that we need to be doing?
Basic things. Just okay, I'm going to say it again. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Right.
because being uncomfortable jumpstarts your creative juices, right?
Yeah.
You have to give yourself problems to solve so that you're always coming to the table and coming with new things. And so like I never, and this is like, I never get, you know, creative block. You know, people talk about, oh, I'm blocked, I'm blocked. I
Right.
never get this because maybe I get frustrated with
Okay.
something, right? Like
Okay.
I'll be
So
working
you
on,
differentiate that from being blocked. Frustration is different for you than
yeah, I just don't get blocked because there's just so many things. So I might have a few paintings up on the rail at the same time, and I'm
Mhm.
working on one, and
Right.
it's but it's like impacting me to the point where like I don't want to work on any of them. Okay, fine. I go over and I sit down at the desk and I pull out some paper,
Right.
and then I start working on a paper piece, something loose and free that I don't have to worry about. Or
Yes.
I'll go over and start reading something. You know, so for me, it's always about just, you have to keep in motion. You have to keep doing things. And like maybe the paper pieces that you're doing loosely and not caring about so much, not putting a bunch of effort in, you might
Mhm.
discover something and go, oh, that's the thing that's missing over there where I was being frustrated. I was caring too much or this or that. I need to go back over there now and start cooking on that again.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
it's just about sort of staying in motion and trusting that it's all going to work out. You're frustrated about this piece, or you're not doing good on this over here. Fine, fine, fine. It's all going to work out. You just need to like go over here and do something else for a minute.
Yeah. So I'm hearing be okay with being uncomfortable, keep moving, keep being in motion.
Yeah.
Right. And trusting that it's going to, you're going to end up with something. It's going to work out.
Yeah. And you never know I would be totally remiss if I didn't mention writing, because writing is such a huge part of what I do. Teach writing, and writing is an enormous part of a creative practice. And I would encourage everybody to grab a journal, and just nobody else has to see it, but if you can start to put things into writing, into language, when you have to do those things, you start to think about your work in a different way. You start to discover things about your work that you didn't realize before. And
are you saying you're writing particular things? Like, are you writing about your work? Or are you writing about your work and other stuff? Like, when you say keep a journal and be writing, what do you mean?
So I actually mean about the work. So my recommendation is, when you walk into your studio space, if you're working on something, the very first thing, look at it with fresh eyes. Jot down some notes, maybe some things you want to do to it. Why do you want to do those things to it? What are you liking about it? What are you not liking about it? Put it away. Work. At the end, take your journal out, write some more things about what you're seeing for the next day. And that's the other thing too, is you have to have a daily practice. Right. Yeah. So writing, daily practice, even if you sit down to write an artist statement about work that you're not quite sure of, you're going to really start understanding what you're doing if you have to put it into actual words. Something happens, when it's sitting up in this sort of ephemeral space. It's like a wish. It's not concrete, and once you bring it down into this concrete version of itself, like in this like language, you can begin to understand it better.
You're helping your brain connect things, right? I mean, it's really hard. I think sometimes people think that they should just be able to like walk into the place where they paint or they make or they write music or whatever, and just like spill it out there, right? And I guess there's some people who can do that, but for the most part, all of the artists that I work with, either in coaching or in therapy, right, pretty much like can't just walk in, and that's where frustration happens, right? That's where they start to feel like, oh, I'm a nobody, I suck, like I'm never going to amount to anything, right? But then I'm like, well, what is your daily practice like? What is your process about, right? And they're like, oh, well, no, I don't really have something concrete, right? Well, like maybe that's what we need to start doing, right? Taking little steps. It doesn't have to be gigantic things right away, right? But just little steps that you can say, this is what I'm going to do every day to try and push myself forward.
Yeah. Even, like on your phone, right? There's little things where you can draw with your finger, so instead of sitting on the bus and like flipping through Instagram, just like do some quick little cute sketches on your phone, or just to keep it going. And also, it's also important. I mean, this is a little bit aside from what you were talking about, but you have to be a careful and passionate observer of the life around you, the things that are around you, because that's really like the next step. I drove my dad home the other day. My dad came home from Phoenix, and I drove him back to his place in Central PA. And I was just like, oh my God, Dad, look at those colors over there. Oh, I wish I could take a picture because I need to like put that in my brain, and I want to use those colors in my next painting. And so I'm always kind of looking and going, oh my God, those colors, or, I'm always, it's just constant, even
a childlike looking at things through like a childlike lens, right? Where everything is new, or everything has the potential to be something, everything has the potential to be exciting, right? Some of it is legit boring shit, right? But like, you can kind of look, and if it hits you, right, you make a note of it or take a picture.
Yeah.
There's a few comments here.
Oh,
So
great.
one person says, I see the influence of your residencies in your paintings. So
Oh, great.
that's working for you. That's validation
All
right there.
right.
Right. And then someone else says that they love the writing part of your studio practice. They say, I'm always writing if I'm working on my art. So
That's
that's somebody
awesome.
else who can kind of validate that, that's an important thing. They go hand in
Yeah.
hand. And then let me see. There was a question. So Michele, so happy for your exhibition in Chelsea. Were you invited to the gallery in Chelsea, or did you apply for a solo exhibition?
Yeah. So when I tell you that this was just like a gift from the universe, because I was just putting all my creative energy into my like studio and trying to get out there, it literally was just a gift. It fell into my lap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the biggest, most incredible opportunity to fall into my lap. And because also my work is going to be going to China for 2 art fairs. So
Awesome. Okay.
yeah,
This year, 2021, or?
yeah, in June after the show ends in May, and then work, I don't know which works yet, are going to Xiamen, I guess.
Okay.
And I apologize to all Chinese speakers. And then in November going to the West Boon um, art fair in Shanghai. And there's
Great.
also like this thing that I want to tell everybody, but like I totally can't. It's kind of a secret right now, but just it's going to be coming soon after the show's over. There's a really exciting thing that I
Awesome.
want to tell everybody.
There's so
But
much going on in your life right now. So much going on
yeah.
in your
Oh
practice.
yeah, and I just got a great commission, so I'm just like, oh, things are good. But okay, it just fell in my lap. But I can tell you, all right, that I send 80 to 90 emails a week, and I do reach out to galleries. But you have to pay attention because I have a gallery in Texas now, and they commented on some of my pieces on Instagram, and I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's a gallery. Let me look them up.
Right.
Do I work there? And then, yeah, okay, good. Let me reach out to them. So I DM them, and then da 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 da. Next thing you know, I'm in that gallery. So it's it's a little bit like paying attention to what's going on, and then it's also reaching out and
Yes.
building relationships. But then, and as long as you're like in that flow, other stuff comes to you. I was also contacted. There's a opportunity in Madrid. I don't know. I've got some stuff going on. So like,
let's see, listen though, like what it is like you're saying this thing, the Chelsea thing, like fell into your lap. I don't, maybe insofar as the actual like thing, but like
right.
I don't think it's that it fell into your lap, right? It's that
No,
you've been like doing so much work,
yeah.
right? You've been,
No, it's true.
and like building relationships, right? Starting with, and cultivating the relationships that you've had for a long time, right? And responding to people, not being afraid to put yourself out there.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
Things
Yes.
just don't show up, right?
No. I know. And definitely, like, if I wasn't working on the work and trying to make it better, they wouldn't have been interested at all. But what I mean to say by that is
Yeah.
I did not reach out to them.
Right.
Yeah. But also but the way that they found me, I did this other thing, right? That I was like, this isn't really working out. Maybe I don't want to do it anymore. But it was like web time, it was out there, like my stuff's out on this other space. And that's where they found me. And if I had canceled that, if I had not done that, then they wouldn't have found me. Right. So like, you just have to like, and my friend Ada Trio talks a lot about not saying no, and and she was showing her work at a place that was just like a little school kind of situation, like a little room in a school. But she's like, yes, I'll do it. And Philadelphia Museum of Art bought 2 pieces out of that show. So it's just like,
That's amazing.
yeah, so like the things you're not quite sure are gonna bring you something, maybe do them and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also another thing. Like just be open
Be
to
open.
possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be open to possibility. Don't say no because you think you're beyond it, maybe.
Oh, definitely that. Yeah.
Right. Because that'll come back and kick you in the ass pretty hard.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And be generous. Like I'm like, I'm a fan of being generous and being nice and being kind.
And not always those things, but
Right. No, but
very
no,
hard.
none of us are always that way, right? Of course not.
But
But I think if we can remember to be generous and kind, um, right, that
have
helps our
gratitude.
relationships,
Have
right?
gratitude.
Gratitude.
I every night before I go to bed, I sit down, I have a little book, and I write down all the things that I'm grateful for. In the middle of the day, I'll talk about things I'm grateful for. I'm always, always talking about gratitude.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Man, this was awesome. Thank you so much for spending the 45 minutes here with us. Like um I really enjoyed hanging out with you. I always love our conversations. And I always love I'm really grateful for the feedback that you give me on my work. It's so
I still really like
incredibly
that one painting. I don't know.
it's still upstairs. It's still upstairs.
All right. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, but like it's really helpful for me to like get that feedback. I really respect your eye and your generosity with offering your criticism and your comments. So yeah, anybody who wants to kind of follow along with your journey and stuff, I put your website up, but where can they find you other places?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Michele Kishita.
Mhm.
That's where you can see things in progress and things that I'm doing. I also have a writing business, so you can find
Mhm.
me at michelekishtawriting.com. I'm a little busy for writing right now, but maybe. Uh,
She's
and
awesome at like, making sure your shit looks and sounds good in terms of presenting yourself. Cause we didn't really touch on it too much, but like how important is it to like show up with your statement well done, your bio well done, like everything speaks about who you are as an artist, right? And everything needs to be tight. And so,
yep,
you're really good at like looking at something and saying like this needs to be tweaked or this can be different.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
can find you at michellekishitawriting.com.
yep.
Okay.
And yeah, but I mean, if you Google me, there's like a whole bunch of stuff out there. So just
Let's
Google
do
it.
it.
Oh, I'm part of Post. I'm
Oh
part of
yeah.
Philadelphia Open Studios,
Yep.
Open Studio Tour. Mine is next Wednesday.
Okay.
So if you register, you can come visit my open studio virtually from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So
And if you guys don't know about Philadelphia Open Studio Tours, just Google it. I don't know I don't know if it's .org or .com or whatever, but Google it. There's tons of studios, tons of artists throughout Philadelphia. We live in such a vibrant arts city, and there's something for everybody. And Post does this amazing thing. Is it all virtual this year, Michele, or
it's
is
all
it?
virtual. I think some people are having some in-person things. I'm probably going to be doing an in-person thing on my own coming up maybe this summer
Okay.
because I have a fancy new studio. I want people to come take a look at it.
It's a
And I have
beautiful.
air conditioning. So,
Hey, come on in, right? Awesome. Cool. So lots of places to check you out and see what's going on for you. For everybody else in the group, remember to go to boldcreativescollective.com and there is a freebie available for you from me. It's called 4 ways to create or four steps to grow your creative life. You can get that sent to you in an email. So that's boldcreativescollective.com. And then invite your friends to join the Bold Creatives Collective on Facebook, where you're watching this right now. I'm hoping that this will continue to grow and it will continue to generate valuable content. I know that's a really young kind of group right now, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to support one another in legitimate ways and ways that is a give and take for everybody. Um, let's see what else. Next week we have Krista Dedrick Lay coming on to talk with me. We're going to be talking about her studio practice and also um, mental health. Artists who live with mental health concerns, and we're gonna tackle that. What it's like to be a practicing artist, a mom, and also someone who is wading through the waters of mental health. So join us. That's next. Oh my God, I think it's when, I don't know. You'll see. It's gonna post later. It's at 7 o'clock on Sunday next week. All right, that's everything, guys. Michele, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
See
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.